Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Scotiabank Theatre here in Toronto, Ontario, and for you Americans, that's in Canada. And welcome to the Canadian Invitational for League of Legends for the Collegiate Star League. I'm Daniel Digon Gonzalez, and with me on the desk, bringing the color, is Bill Jump Carter. How's it going, Bill?
Man, I'm doing absolutely fantastic. We have the Collegiate Star League Grand Finals going throughout this weekend. Multiple titles, multiple games, and a lot of very hungry cyber athletes.
Absolutely. We just wrapped up our StarCraft 2 finals. Congratulations to the team that won that one. And now we have our Canadian Invitational. Up first, we have Ryerson and UBC. UBC, one of the names ubiquitous with collegiate gaming.
Yeah, they're one that when you think about esports and when you think about dominance, University of British Columbia always comes to mind. And when you bring that into League of Legends, it just gets elevated that much more. They've been at the top of their game, and even though they had a little bit of a struggle in pieces of the ULOL campus series of what we've seen earlier, they're definitely on a mission today to ensure that they're the top Canadian team that's going to leave by the end of the weekend.
Correct. And Ryerson, on the other hand, a local team here from Toronto. They went ahead in the ULOL campus series, ended up getting knocked out in the round of 16. It's their first year of existence as an esports organization, but making it that far in the East bracket, great thing for them.
Yeah, something that we talked to them a little bit before, and we found out they're a fresh team. This is the first time that they've not only entered the ULOL campus series, but just have competed at such a high level in collegiate esports, League of Legends for this specifically, and they definitely seem like they're a team that is hungry and ready to bring out something big.
Absolutely. So those teams there are ready to go. Later on after that one, for the second half of these semifinals, we have University of Toronto taking on Simon Fraser University. A bit of a rematch here.
Yeah, it's definitely a bit of a rematch, and not only that, but you have two of the top teams in all of collegiate esports. When you take a look at the rankings right now, you have the West winner in Simon Fraser. They ended up beating UBC in the finals of the West Division, and then University of Toronto, the LCS killers, they like to call them, the success that they've had not only in the challenger brackets, but winning the East Division in the ULOL campus series as well.
Yeah, and we've had the opportunity to cast University of Toronto for quite some time now. It'll be exciting to get to them. But we have our two teams here lined up and ready to go. We're getting them into the lobby. So in a little bit, we'll be getting into that first matchup. But let's talk a little bit about UBC. UBC, like I said earlier, known for collegiate esports. I got to see them at the NALCS finals. They were there helping out, handing out swag. They're just known for collegiate esports. What's the history of UBC been like as a team, and what is it now?
I think a big thing when you think about UBC is twofold. One, you think about structure in just the collegiate organization that they have and their ability to create this just logistical structure to be able to have much more consistency as a unit. And then secondly, when you add in that structure, you think in just raw power and established team synergy. All of their success has been rivaled upon just the raw ability to be able to succeed and just blow teams away with the synergistic compositions that they have, with the synergistic just team communication that they have across the board. This is what sets UBC apart from a lot of these other schools.
Yeah, and one of the big players that I want to watch out for UBC is KT Smurf. He's been hanging around the challenger level for quite some time now, might be master right now, but really just one of those known names in the circuit, in the challenger series, and now hopefully going to be etching his name here in the Canadian Invitational.
Yeah, now if you also want to take a look across the board here for Ryerson, granted, they're not a team that we've heard about a lot. They're not a team that you would say, okay, let's list all of the top teams in Canada. They're not one that necessarily comes to mind. However, coming into an invitational like this, pit against what we like to call, the Goliath of UBC.
Correct.
Not only do they have a big task ahead, but like I mentioned before, they're hungry. They're ready to rock. They're ready to roll. We talked to them before, and they feel that they have a leg up because, and Digon, this is the best part, we're on the mid-season patch, so we have a whole new ball field to even think about before this even gets on the Rift.
Absolutely. The mid-season patch just dropping now. Those players over at MSI in Rio de Janeiro not able to touch it. This is going to be one of the first competitions with the patch, and there's going to be a couple things that are really game-changing type changes that were hit in the patch. One of the big ones, the Rift Herald.
Yeah, the Rift Herald is going to, in my opinion, be a very pivotal factor along a lot of the early game success of these teams. Now, the lane swap is dead. Let's clarify that. Just because the Rift Herald's up there, you're not going to have the 2v1 lanes. You're not going to have to worry about the disaster that we faced in the meta for a very long time. However, there is the new possibility of a delayed lane swap. So the Rift Herald doesn't spawn until 10 minutes, but But with that being said, the power that it can bring to pushing lanes, this could be for an opportunity for teams to create a very complex rotational strategy to make sure that when that Rift Herald is launched, when that Rift Herald is up, they're sending multiple members to the top side of the map, securing it, and then pushing down some towers.
Yep, definitely. And another one of the big changes that really was hit in that patch was the top lane. There was an emphasis made by Riot with this last patch to go ahead and get a little bit tanky, have those tanks feel like they have a little bit more purpose other than just standing in the front line, tanking damage and getting out right before they die. They made changes to 3 champions, Zac, Sejuani, and Maokai.
Yeah, I think that if you had to take a look at all 3 of them, Sejuani's definitely the one that I think benefited the most. Granted, it's a little bit more different in the play style that you have to have. You can't just charge in and throw down an ultimate and everything fall in place. You actually have to be a little bit more calculated in your aggressive style, because now with that ultimate, the bola turns it into an empowered bola after it travels a specific distance. And so you can create much more of a catastrophe for the enemy team if you're able to plan that accordingly and actually create that distance.
Absolutely. Any other changes? What about the positional changes for those guys? Because those changes to Zac, to Sejuani, to Maokai, where might we find them?
Well, because Maokai doesn't have that ability to have this just very low amount of resources and yet still be relevant, I don't see him being as prevalent in the top lane. He isn't able to just tank out the damage. There's a lot of matchups that don't necessarily go his favor, and because he's not going to have those resources, and with his kit changes, it's just not going to link up. We have seen it a little bit in the support position. I'm actually excited to see if any of the teams bring it up, because I know it's been something that's kind of been thought about back and forth. But at the same time, I think that the overall position is Sejuani and Zac obviously still in the jungle. They have the tools, they have the kit to make that much more successful, but it's just more of the teams whether or not to do something.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and show a couple of clips that we had of the team so you can get to know them a little bit better. But when we come back, we'll have our first matchup with Ryerson against UBC.
I'm Tanya from CSL, and I'm here with Hometown Heroes, Ryerson University. So, can you guys just go down the line and introduce yourself?
I'm Usama Nagatoro. I'm the top laner for Ryerson.
Hi, my name is David Zetto, and I play AD carry for Ryerson.
Hi, I'm Danny Chen, and I play laner lane for Ryerson.
I am David Wing, and I play support for Ryerson.
Hi, I'm Keith Rudelis, and I play jungle for Ryerson.
Great. So, it's great to have you guys here at our Canadian Invitational, and how do you guys feel about being here?
Feel pretty good. I think it's good practice for us for next season. The season coming up for next year. But it's gonna be tough, I think.
Because this is actually our first year of starting our esports club at Ryerson, so we're just up and comers basically.
Hey, yeah, that's awesome. So, all the other teams at this Canadian Invitational, they're going to UWall. So, yeah, that does make you guys kind of the underdogs. And on top of that, you're going up against the powerhouse, UBC tomorrow. So, how do you guys feel about your opponent?
We feel pretty good because we have some special picks, I guess. But yeah, pocket picks.
Yeah, how do you guys feel about how your participation in this Canadian Invitational impacts your club?
Well, it gets their name out there, right? So if people are watching, they're like, oh, Ryerson's here too, maybe they're good, and they want to come join us as well. It's good for publicity, yeah.
What do you say?
How is the first year being an esports club at Ryerson? How's it been going for you?
Obviously, there's a lot of stuff our management and stuff they're trying to get used to because we didn't understand a lot of stuff, a lot of different rules, some coaching issues, that kind of stuff, bringing people in to help us. So yeah, that's for future stuff next year.
Great, awesome. And then before we end this, do you guys have any shout outs you want to give?
Shout out to my mom. I'm playing on stage.
Any other shout outs?
Ryerson Esports, I guess?
Yeah.
There you go, the people
Of course.
technically sponsoring us.
Any girlfriends or someone special out there? Great job. Thank you, Ryerson. Good luck tomorrow.
Thank you.
All right, guys, there's a little short clip of Ryerson here. Definitely one of the underdog stories that we have that can be written out here at the Canadian Invitational. We spoke to their team a little bit there, Jump. They really were talking about how they feel like they have the leg up because they don't have as much to lose.
Yeah, it's not only that they don't have as much to lose, but when you think about a midseason patch, when you think about something that is game-changing as what Riot has done with 7.9, there are opportunities for teams to pull out something that you've never seen before. When the meta changes, that 2-week period where teams are trying to figure out what the heck they're still trying to do, that is when you have opportunities. You take a look at across the board with MSI and with Worlds, when those patches change and when that starts becoming the meta, you look at a lot of the international teams, and they're the ones that are bringing out the wonky stuff. It's the LPL is bringing things. The Ryerson squad here is the LPL. They're the ones that are going to bring something crazy. They're the ones that are going to bring something off chance because, like you said, they have nothing to lose. They have the opportunity to knock down one of the gods of Canada, if you call it so, that within UBC. And I definitely see them being able to do this and do it in style.
Yeah, they talked about a couple of different selective picks. We're not going to give those away yet, but if it does come up, we'll go ahead and point those out. So I'm really
There's
excited.
some fun ones.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see what they're able to pull out. UBC, like we said, has traditionally have been a powerhouse. We've known them as an aggressive team, but when we talked to them earlier, they said they've leaned back a little bit, learn some patience.
As time changes, so does the roster. Not everybody can be in college forever. People graduate, people leave. You have this cycling, and with multiple members new here in UBC specifically, with the top laner, you don't have their JJ anymore. You've got CJ in the top lane. You've got KT Smurf taking up the mid. When you have these kind of player changes and the roster shuffle a little bit, that changes your play style, that changes your approach. And UBC, which we've seen as a late game powerhouse for so long, being able to just stall it out and use that team synergy that we've talked about before to their advantage. Now they're like, you know what? We don't want to get to the late game. We don't have that experience. We don't have as much confidence in the late game. We want to hit our power spikes. We wanted to hit those strong compositions that are going to be very powerful near that 15 to 20 minute mark, and then blow through and try to get something strong.
Right, and one of the big things here for UBC is they have two different junglers. They have two different jungler types, more aggressive, also proof of payment, a little bit more safe tank player. So it'll be interesting to see how they go ahead and cycle out those two.
Yeah, proof of payment actually is coming back. So he took a year off. Went to a different university for a little while and now is back at UBC. When he first played with them, I was casting him a couple years ago, and aggression is the only word you can use to describe proof of payment. He's in your jungle, he's in your face, he's gonna let you know that he's there, he's the boss, and he's the one that's gonna rule, everything in the forest. And that's the way that their play style shifts when he's on there. But then when you throw it over, which it's gonna actually be the starter in Kazahana here for UBC, he likes to play a lot safer. He likes to be more of a utility. He's fine with the tank junglers. He would rather set his team up to succeed and go for that victory style. And so changing things up and having those as an option definitely makes them much more versatile coming into this invitational.
And that's something that we haven't really seen in pro play lately because they've been on the older patches. There's been a high emphasis on Graves, maybe a little bit of Kha'Zix, Ivern, but Ivern, it fits that kind of tanky passage. But other than that, Rengar always banned out, so a big shift in the meta.
Yeah, and I think that that's really where we're going to really see the first impacts of this midseason patch with the new item changes, with just the way that they've manipulated a little bit of the build pass and things across. There are plenty of opportunities now to potentially bring some of those tank junglers back and see how they're going to work out on the team. Obviously, you still have your ones at the top of the meta, but if you can find a way to create a utility jungler and make it through that first 7 to 9 minutes and essentially outscale in utility against somebody like a carry jungler, like a Graves or a Kha'Zix or something of that effect, then there are plenty of opportunities for you to kind of come out on top and succeed, and that's what I see UBC going for in this game one.
Something that I wanted to bring up, though, is the fact that we're on LAN. We're here, speakers here, fans here, big lights, big sound. UBC talked about how it might not faze them because they've done it before. What might Ryerson be feeling as one of their first LAN events?
I mean, when you have a fresh team, when you have a fresh unit that's coming aboard at something of this effect, obviously there's going to be nerves. Obviously, you're sitting there, you've got people watching, you've got lights in your face, there's cameras. All eyes are on you now at a LAN experience. And so I think for them, this first game is really going to be the telltale of exactly how prepared they are and how comfortable they are with their compositions, because if the pick ban doesn't go in their favor and they're already rattled, then you throw the LAN experience into it and it's going to just compound multiplicatively in a negative aspect. However, if they get the pick that they want, if they find themselves in some comfort shoes, then they're going to be able to use this LAN experience and the ability to look down and say, hey, you just made a good play. that's going to rise the energy levels. That's going to create extra motivation and really help them push forward in the match.
Absolutely. I'm looking very forward to seeing the teams get the picks that they want. A lot of the teams that we talk to, they kind of want to feel each other out first. I don't think anyone's going to go crazy. How do you think the dynamic of a best of 3 is going to be compared to a best of 2?
That was going to be my first comment. Generally, when you think about these invitationals, you're looking at these big, long best of 5 sets. That's not what we have today. These are going to be best of 3s. And so even if you are wanting to fill your team out, if you lose and you aren't able to get that first game, then your backs are against the wall for elimination. And so it all comes down to be able to make sure that you implement the strategy in the pick ban phase that you wanted. Pick ban phase, especially the way that the meta is going right now, especially the way League of Legends is just headed, is extremely important. Games are won and lost in the pick ban phase with Champ Select. And so if either one of these teams are able to get their strategy right off the bat, that could definitely put them well ahead and above the mark before you even load into the Rift.
Absolutely. So just a quick update for everyone. One of the Ryerson players is having a little bit of a headphone issue. Oh, no, sorry. One of the UBC players is having a headphone issue. So they're taking care of that before we get into this first game. Almost ready, they say, but not quite there yet. Now let's go ahead and pivot for a little bit. Let's talk about the big matchup in the second set. It's going to be UOT against Simon Fraser. These two teams kind of know each other.
Yeah, I think that this is going to be probably the more eyes to watch match if you want to think about the semifinals. Obviously, UBC Ryerson, a fantastic match. It's going to be great, but the kind of highlight of the day is definitely going to be SFU Toronto, because that's going to give us the first glimpse of what we're going to see next week in the ULaw Campus Series, because you have the West winner, you have the East winner. They're going to be going against each other. Even though it is a best of 3, even though there is money on the line, the question becomes how much of your hand are you actually going to show, considering you have to play for the ULaw title next week.
So why don't you go ahead and explain that a little bit there. The ULaw League of Legends Campus Series title is happening next weekend. Both winners of the West and East bracket, which is Simon Fraser and University of Toronto, respectively, will be playing in that tournament as well. And so those teams will be playing here in that first round matchup. They don't want to show too much of their hand.
No, they really don't. And so I think for them, it's going to come down to, all right, maybe we can try something in Champ Select. Maybe we can bring out some fun stuff and enjoy ourselves and kind of practice the team synergy. This is a LAN. And when you're going to be going out to the ULaw, that's going to be a LAN as well. And so any opportunity that you can have to get everybody together, to play in a LAN experience and have that elevated level of competition will definitely be much more successful in the endeavors of your team. And so if anything, I think that second match with SFU and University of Toronto is going to be geared towards how can we create these synergistic decisions and these synergistic compositions while maintaining the elevated level of pressure that you have with the LAN experience.
Absolutely, and we've talked a lot about LAN experience. We're about to have our LAN experience starting very shortly. And you know, you've talked about it, we've seen about it all the time in the LCS stage. When challenger teams finally make it to the big stage, finally make it to the main LCS stage, they're so close to promotion, and they say just the LAN experience is just so different. What are some of the things that players have to go ahead and deal with in person compared to in mom and pop's basement, in your college dorm room? I don't know. I was just trying to explain the
energy
situation.
level. I think energy level, for one, is a big start. Your teammate in the bot lane makes a big play, you can set him and say, good job, buddy, like you did a great job. Or if something bad happens and say top lane starts feeding or something bad on your team occurs, you can look across and you can just feel that negative aura just kind of bringing you down. And so I think a big level is, one, how are the energy levels going to be affected based on performance? And then two, the pressure of having lights, having all of these external factors that are putting down on you, that isn't sitting in your room, chilling and hanging out and having your comfortable keyboard set up, having all of your comfortable peripherals. In this sense, you've got a desk, it might not be the same height. There are all of these different opportunities that you have to think about and all of these variables that you have to consider coming into it.
Yep, so now it does look like we're going to be getting into the draft finally. The two teams ready to go. We have Ryerson against UBC in our first match in the Canadian Invitational. We're into picks and bans. So this is a portion of the game, just in case you don't know, where you go ahead and remove certain champions. This is the strategic part where you remove champions. The other team, both teams can't play it, so you're going to take them off the map. And right early on, we have champions being taken out that normally are played in the jungle.
Yeah, you've got Kha'Zix being taken off the board from the blue side, and Rek'Sai. Rek'Sai, not someone that we've really seen as prevalent in the meta, but like we said, Kazahan loves those those support style champions. He loves being able to help his team with that extra utility. And so when that occurs and when that's a strength for you, you're definitely going to take somebody like Rek'Sai off the table if you're the side of Ryerson.
Yeah, but Zig's now getting taken off as well. I'm not sure. How many other junglers do you think are going to get taken off here as we see a Fiora normally played in the top lane?
I think that you might see something like a Graves and kind of pigeonhole something into possibly forcing a Lee Sin or something to that effect. I'm not too sure on the power levels of either one of these players when it comes to somebody as early game pressured as the Lee Sin. But like we said, the changes have occurred. There are a bunch of different opportunities for them. But with that, it does look like it is going to be a Fiora ban. And so a little bit across the board, kind of just figuring out those targets and trying to get people off of their kind of generic comfort champions.
Yeah, one of the things that we didn't touch on, one of the biggest item changes, Death's Dance, with damage reduction on that item. Fiora uses it great. It does look like it will be taken away here, as the last two bans are going to be Galio and Sejuani. So there's one of those changed champions, Sejuani, getting taken off the board.
Yeah, so we've talked so much about the jungle and how that's going to be an option, and right off the bat, it's exactly what we're going to see. You see Ivern, you see Graves as your big two that are on the board. Ivern definitely plays into Kazuhana's style a little bit better, but what does that leave open? The powerhouse that we've seen in Karma and Lulu.
Yeah, a shield composition. Both of those champions known for their shielding. You can build with a hyper carry later on with either Kog'Maw, a Twitch, a Caitlyn. All of those champions are available to go ahead and dish out tons of damage when you have double shields coming out.
Yeah, and so now is a decision that UBC has to make. Where are they going to place their effort? They still have a little while. They don't have to pick their mid quite yet. This Lulu and this Karma could technically flex. Either one of these could go into the mid lane, and so kind of hold on to your picks and wait till the composition gets fleshed out a little bit more. And so now, because you have this double poke and you know that's going to be an option in the bot lane, I feel like you have to take away the Caitlyn, because that's essentially guaranteeing Ryerson a one lane in the bot.
Yeah, because Caitlyn can get the shields plus the poke coming out of the support, as you touched on, it makes it very difficult for any other support combination to get in there. And look at this, it's going to be a Zyra. Zyra, another champion capable of poking with the skills that she has, but not shielding. So we'll get to see how well UBC is going to play that bottom lane.
Something I really like about the Zyra pick is the synergy that it actually has with the Ivern as well. You can create that ultimate from the Zyra to allow Daisy to get a couple more extra procs off to hit and make sure that you have that. So a very synergistic comp coming out of UBC quite yet, but now is the decision that you have to make for the 3-4 pick coming out of Ryerson. I believe that they would go something for the jungler. If they're going to have this double shield, I feel like they're going to be committing to a bot lane hyper carry. You're going to see something potentially like a Twitch, Kog'Maw possibly getting pulled up as well. And so you need to make sure that you can support that as much as possible. This Nunu hover kind of reveals the hand in a lot of those ways, but what this also does is give you the option for a lot of objective control. The Nunu does it, but it's going to be the Lucian actually being locked in here.
Oh, it's not a hyper carry. Lucian, a very aggressive AD carry, kind of peaks earlier on to mid-late game, but as soon as it gets to really late, post 30, 35 minutes, Lucian starts to fall off because of his short range. So the very aggressive pick here, and it seems like there's a very clear play style that Ryerson's going for.
Yeah, Ryerson definitely wants to hit their spikes. They want to get ahead. They want to snowball themselves to a victory. They know that there is kind of a timer on them. They know that there's going to be an opportunity where they're not as strong, and I think that that's what is going through UBC's mind right now. Do we go toe for toe, sword for sword, and actually try to compete with them with some mid-game champions in the top as well as the mid lane? Or do we kind of stall ourselves up and wait? You can hear them having the conversations and trying to figure that out. I wouldn't be surprised if they pick something a little bit more towards the late game. You can have the Gragas still in the top lane. He definitely still has that strength. I would say essentially tier 1. And then a mid laner, go for something a little bit more like a control mage. But we might be wrong, as that's going to be a Kassadin locked in for KT Smurf.
So Kassadin has been coming up in the meta a lot more in the mid lane with a lot of burst champions, but with a lesser damage dealer in the mid lane, whether it's the Karma or the Lulu, probably the Karma, that's going to give Kassadin the ability to scale. And what we mean by that is... oh my god,
oh baby, we got a Veigar!
I'll finish this point. So Kassadin in the mid lane gets monstrous later on.
Yeah.
He has his Rift Walk, which allows him to move around the map, and it becomes nearly unstoppable later on. However, it's going to be a Veigar And so there it is, Karma in the top lane, Lulu in the mid lane, and Vigar coming out in the mid.
So Vigar is very great at countering the composition of Ken and Ivern because it essentially he can back them off. He can throw up his stun. He can make sure that he can zone the rest of the team away. But the one difficulty that he does have is this does not stop KT Smart from getting onto him because the Kassadin ultimate is a blink. It isn't going to get locked up by that stun. And so Vigar, Life Turtle is definitely going to have to make sure that he has that support post 6, or his team is making sure that they're rotating around that kind of level 6, level 7 spike area, because he needs to make sure that he can keep Kassadin off of him, because when Kassadin starts to get rolling, we've all seen what a strong Kassadin can do, and KT Smurf definitely a player that can snowball himself and his team to a victory.
Yeah, this is great, because we did talk about the pocket picks, and that was one that Light Turtle did allude to, and we didn't expect that. And also Karma in the top lane.
Yeah, Karma in the top lane can run one of two ways. You can either run it of kind of a more of a utility Karma and actually go for that Rod of Ages and have a little bit tankier setup for you, or you can just go full damage AP support kind of style Karma, and I actually think that's what they're going to go for. They've got the zoning potentials of all of the poke coming out of Karma Lulu. You've got the zoning from the Vigar as well as the Nunu in the front line for Lucian to kind of like go back and forth between the front and the back. But where I see this team being at their strongest is when you hit those 2 item spikes. The second that Lucian and Vigar are able to get those first 2 items, Vigar gets himself a couple stack ups. I wouldn't be surprised if you start to see them really positioning themselves around the map, because you've got double teleports both in the top lane and the mid lane on both of these teams. And so the mid game is going to be very important for both of these teams on how they're rotating, how they're moving around, and with the new mid-season patch in 7.9, how they control the Rift Herald.
Yeah, we have double teleports by both team compositions, but the big difference is everyone on the side of Ryerson except Light Turtle in the mid lane has some sort of speed buff, right? You can go ahead Blood Boil, you can go ahead use Inspiration or Defiance, and Lulu has the speed up as well. Lucian can go ahead dash around. There's going to be a lot of positioning plays. So before we get to objective fights, the big fight is going to be before the objective fight. So about like a minute and a half, you'll see fights kind of randomly pop out. Mainly that's over vision, isn't it?
Yeah, it is indeed. And the important factor to think about with UBC and that desire for vision control is they actually have a pretty solid pick composition. You can chain CC the Caitlyn trap after the Zyra stun. You also have the Kennen and the Ivern to be able to kind of help out. And so if there are these opportunities where they have the superior vision and Ryerson tries to come in and take that vision over, if the UBC members are positioning themselves correctly, they can definitely take advantage, get themselves off a couple bit, and then make sure that they can take those objectives. Because Ryerson's composition revolves around this team fight. They need everybody there, all of the shields, all of the power to be able to help them overcome the enemy. And if multiple members are down, there's no way that they're going to be able to compete against UBC.
Definitely. And so with that, we have about a little bit more of the spectator delay, but we have a couple of friends that we want to thank of the broadcast. Thank you so much to Azus for providing everything esports for collegiate esports. You guys are awesome. We appreciate it. Also, Twitch.tv, the largest streaming platform for gaming and for anything, honestly.
If you want video games, you're going to Twitch.
Everything. So thank you so much. Hit them up on their social media, on their Twitter and Facebook. The CSL broadcast team, thank you so much. Everyone here to make this possible. Band Gaming, the resource for gamers all over. If you need to go ahead and connect, Band Gaming is what you need to do. Check it out at band.us on your iPhone or your Android device. And of course, everyone here in the theater, we're going to go ahead and get into Game 1. Thank you guys so much. So after this short break, we'll be back with Game 1 between Ryerson and UBC. All right, so with that, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get ourselves started. We're on the Rift with our first match of the Canadian Invitational. On the blue side, we have UBC, British Columbia. Let's go ahead and run down these rosters as we always do. Let's start over there. In the top lane, it's going to be 22 year. At jungle, it's going to be Kazahana. At mid lane, it's KT Smurf. At AD carry, Ozna. And at support, 734.
And for the side of Ryerson, it's going to be Pax of C4 in the top lane, Mod Poman in the jungle, Light Turtle in the mid lane, Ninja Hog at AD carry, and his support, Delta Pi.
Delta Pi. I like that a lot. All right, awesome. And we got the Ryerson fans here as we do have a little bit of an invade. Ooh, Root Collar barely missing on Pax of C4. A little bit of BM. You saw that? He stutter stepped a little bit. Gets an attack off, and that's going to be that. So with that, we have a little bit of an issue with our spectator client. So hang tight. I promise you aren't missing anything. If you guys like old-time radio casts, we're the duo for you right now. We're at 1 minute and 10 seconds. A little bit of positioning back and forth. Craziness, but no, not really. It's just kind of feeling each other out until the minions spawn.
Yeah, so something to consider is how the early jungle pathing is going to happen for the Nunu. So with the Ivern, obviously he has the ability to easily clear the jungle and easily go on across with the way that his passive works. However, Nunu is just as quick in a lot of ways at being able to take these objectives very quickly. And so when you think about the Nunu and the style that Mod Poman is going to play, it's going to go one of two ways. It's either going to be one, he's living in Ivern jungle and making sure that Kazahana is having an absolutely terrible time, or he's going to be just power farming up and making sure that he acquires the vision control for the rest of his team. And so with that, both of these junglers starting on opposite sides, Kazahana prepping both of his waves, but look at this. He's going right across the map over onto the blue side jungle here of Ryerson.
Yeah, we're talking about watching the mini-map, not quite on the client itself, but you can see the characters, Nunu and Ivern, going back at it, and it's taken away immediately. It does look like an early 3 buff possibility for the side of UBC.
Yeah, he does smite that away immediately. It was a nice little prep by Kazahana to throw the timer down, make sure that he can still go back and secure his buff, but he went right over, was able to throw down the passive, secure the blue buff, and try to put Mod Poman a little bit down behind. Taking across at the other lanes as well, it does themselves fairly even, but I wouldn't be surprised if you see Kazahana actually try to get a gank, because any one of his lanes, if they get ahead, they become a much more oppressive force than they already are.
Yeah, especially in this bottom lane. This is what we were talking about. If Ninja Hog and Delta Pi are able to go ahead and get going, it's going to be a little scary because at any point, Pax of C4 can teleport to the bot lane, has the boost to go ahead and support his team a little bit faster than I believe Kennen can. Kennen will have Lightning Rush, but that doesn't last as long as Inspiration or Defiance.
No, it doesn't, and I'm actually very excited to see how Ninja Hog and Delta Pi are going to start playing this lane after they get a couple levels upon them, because when we talked to them before, they prioritize themselves as much of a safer laning combination. They don't like to go super aggressive. They don't like to really bully out the other lane, but as we can see, Ninja Hog already being okay with trading, because here comes Mod Poman in the jungle.
Yep, Mod Poman trying to get the snowball down. That will get it down on Ozna, but Ozna walks away enough, and that's going to be that. But you saw Ninja Hawk not afraid to go ahead and relentless pursuit forward. That was a little bit of the dash skill that you saw right into a 90 caliber net and take it straight to the face.
Yeah, you do have the shield though from Delta Pi, so it's going to mitigate a little bit of that damage, but you're seeing a really good effort here from Ozma to be able to make sure that every opportunity there is to get an extra piece of poke, an extra piece of damage, then you can make sure to do that, because Ninja Hog has started a little bit differently. He went with the longsword 3 pots, so he's going to have a little bit more sustain with those biscuits. However, once those biscuits are gone, he actually falls off and starts becoming behind because he doesn't have the lifesteal to help him up. And so it's on the task of Ozma and 734 to make sure that they eliminate those biscuits as quickly as possible. And with 2 down, they're already doing a great job.
Yeah, if Lucian goes back before he's able to get the first nice buy, which is probably Bilgewater Cutlass, I believe, it's going to be very difficult for Ninja Hog to get going.
It is indeed, as we're seeing a little bit of a slower setup. You got about 4.5 minutes into this game. A nice little piece of poke from 734. The Karma and the Lulu definitely rule the support lane, but that doesn't mean that these very powerful AP-heavy supports like Zyra don't have their place in the meta if they can make sure that they can get themselves off. And as of right now, 734 is definitely doing just that.
Yep, there it is. The last biscuit has been eaten by Ninja Hog. He's going to heal up a little bit over time. But either way, things are very difficult for them. And that's a solid job by 734. He is one of the veterans of this team.
Yeah, he is indeed. As you take a look at other pieces of the map, the top lane has been fairly even thus far, 31-30 in the CS discrepancy. And so both of them understand the power, they understand the poke, and the really quick burst that they can pull off. So they're just making sure to stay safe, stay farming, and then ensure that, hey, when things are happening, everything's okay.
Everything's okay indeed. One of the few top lane ranged matchups.
You don't see that very often.
You don't see a Karma in the top lane very often either. Pax of C4 staying on top of his mana pool, will get the stun up, but not envision, so minions won't be able to help out. And that's one of the big things in the early game that people don't really take into consideration until you get into competitive play. How much damage each one of those minions does once you get into a team fight.
Minion control is one of the most underrated skills and one of the most underrated abilities in all of League of Legends. If you can control the minion wave, if you can control when you're going in and the amount of minions that are there, you definitely have the opportunity to come out ahead.
Solid stuff here by both teams, and it still seems like both teams are feeling each other out, but there's now starting to be a huge gap in the economy for the bottom lane of UBC. It's 47 CS to 32. That equates to about 300 gold, and that's about as much gold as one kill. So even though the scoreboard is 0-0, there's a 900 gold lead for UBC.
You're right, and something else that you have to consider as well, Kazahana went back and rushed that tracker's knife and actually was able to get very early vision onto Modpani. Now, Modpon has that, he has the tracker's knife as well, so he's going to be able to help out with a little bit of vision, but just those slight instances where Ivern is able to get knowledge onto the Nunu, he can pop onto the opposite side of the jungle and make sure that he can secure those buffs away. Because that smite and a combination with the passive is so good, things are great. As we see a little bit of a trade back and forth, Light Turtle not looking in a good spot with KT Smurf.
Yeah, now multiple of the lanes are starting to fall behind. The bottom lane down a good amount, but look at this, KT Smurf kind of taking it to the mid laner there, Light Turtle. And when we did ask about what lane does Ryerson normally play through, they did say it was the mid lane with Light Turtle falling behind. Yes, he's a scaling champion, but you don't want him to become insignificant before he can scale up.
Yeah, he did. Wasn't able to go back and get that Bilgewater Cutlass. So Lucian now in a little bit of an underwhelming setup, if you want to think about it. When you consider the power spikes of that Lucian, you need to be able to have that Bilgewater Cutlass. A little bit of extra damage on the proc, as well as the lifesteal that it secures you. And not only is he going back and not able to get that Bilgewater Cutlass, but look at how far he's falling behind in CS right now. 65 to 41. That's quite a big a distance, and when Ozma does decide to go back, he's certainly going to have the item advantage.
65 CS at 10 minutes is usually pretty good for those that play solo queue. This is 65 at 7 minutes and 40 seconds. That means he could probably reach around 80, 85 CS, and that's like a lot of gold getting out of the laning phase. Usually we use the 10-minute mark as a barometer, because that's when one tower normally goes down. At some point, a jungler rotates, or maybe there's a teleport play, so 10 minutes is usually a good tell of individual skill in that lane, and it's also telling of the matchup between champions, with Caitlyn having extra range, Zyra having extra range. Lucian lost it like he should, but this is a pretty big loss.
It is indeed, as Light Turtle now is going to be able to go back, secure himself a blue buff, and this is going to be very important for him to be able to counter push and come across. But actually, as we say that, the counter push is not what's happening, as you do see Light Turtle as well as Modpon roaming down onto the jungle. They're going to do some set of a lane gank. If you can get some flash E, that is an opportunity. But look, Kazahana is waiting in the wayside coming in, and the teleport available for 22 years. Well, we could see ourselves a scuffle.
Yeah, we could see ourselves a scuffle, a fiesta, some sort of party as Ninja Hawk goes in forward, takes a little bit of damage, 90 caliber net.
Here comes a teleport.
Ninja Hawk very low, teleport coming in, no damage done too much. Mod Pod getting caught out. There is the ultimate coming out of Kennen, the late teleport coming out of Pax of C4, and both teams are going to disengage. That was a very clunky engage.
It was a very clunky engage indeed. 22 Year was about a half a second late on that teleport, wasn't able to actually create that much of an active. He did flash in, but again, we talked about that Vygar pick and the stun and what it can provide, but here's KT Smurf.
Smurf looking at it, feeling it, able to go ahead and rift walk away from the stun, and there it is, the root collar going in. Kazahana might have bit off a little bit more than he chewed. The ultimate goes down, and there's the kill for Vygar, but here comes KT Smurf. He's untouched, coming from the flank. It's going to be at least one kill. Ace in the hole, right in the back. Flash forward by KT Smurf, not going to land, and that's going to be that 1-for-1.
1-for-1, but a tower goes down in the bot lane, and so advantage goes over to UBC. Now that they have the extra pressure, and now that you're getting closer to that 10-minute mark, the Rift Herald is becoming an option. So with that kill going into the Caitlyn, she can go back, get herself another item spike. They can rotate that bot lane over to the top side. Now they have that Rift Herald control. This is where things could get scary.
One of the biggest changes made, I believe, in last season was the first tower gold. If you kill the first tower, it leads to way more gold than what the rest of the towers do individually. That's going to head on over to UBC, and like you said, there it is, another pickaxe coming out for the Caitlyn. And I really like when Caitlyn just buys straight AD. Caitlyn is one of the few ADs that you're just going to auto attack over auto attack. So go ahead and just level up your damage early on. You don't need the crits. I don't think you need the crits until later on. So Caitlyn going to be bringing the heat with her Piltover Peacemaker.
It is indeed, but look at this very solid reactive moment that you see coming in, but oh no.
Oh, Light Turtle in a little bit of trouble, gets stunned up, and it's going to be a 3-man party. It's going to be 1 kill heading on over to UBC.
Wow, I really like that decision by UBC to actually feed that kill into 22 Year to help him and elevate, get that very quick Blade of the Rune King completed to allow him to get a little bit more relevant. But the point that I was going to make right beforehand is Pax of C4 made a very smart decision to not only go Ninja Tabby for the 22-year matchup, but to also go for the triple Doran's rings to make sure that his Q could fully clear on the back wave. When you have that wave clear, it allows for a little bit of stalling coming out from that 2v1 push, but I'm not sure if it's a happen as Kazahana lands the stun.
Ooh, it does look like the root will not land there from Zyra. Barely out of range, so Pax of C4 going to be safe. You see those bushes there? Yes, those are bushes that you can't see through. It takes away the vision. That's part of Ivern's thing. Brush Maker, I believe it is just very annoying, and it's going to allow the Caitlyn just free reign in that top side of the map.
Do you think that when Ivern was a sapling, he decided, like, I want to grow up and be a brush maker? Like, you know, you grow up to be a shoemaker like your father. Do you think his was, I want to be a brush maker?
I think he just wanted to go ahead and have friends, but it turns out brushes are very, very bad friends.
That's why he has Daisy.
That's why he has Daisy and only Daisy. That's why he talks to the other jungle minions, but they don't talk back.
They don't. I will kill you because you don't talk to me. Daisy, come hang out.
Yeah, and that's exactly what Ivern thought when he was born. And now we have Caitlyn in the mid lane rotating on over. It does look like Pax of C4 finally has controlled in the top side. Very weird lane assignments now. Viger on the bottom side, Karma still in the top, but now the bot lane is in the mid lane for Ryerson.
Is indeed as the mid lane does rotate themselves over. They want to be able to try to do everything they can to secure these early turrets. When you look at a composition that shines the way that UBC does, it revolves around if Caitlyn is able to get ahead, use that early extra AD to just pound down towers. And so that's why you saw them in the top lane. They weren't able to get anything done. Now the mid lane is a little bit low. They're going to try to go there. You've got decent wave clear in the mid lane coming out with this rotation from from Lucian as well as Lulu to come up. But it's just not going to be enough as they're constantly able to just attack with the extra range that they have at their disposal.
Yeah, a lot of pressure being thrown down here across the map by UBC. This team known to go ahead and use their individual skill to go ahead and slow down the rest of the enemy team, and that's what's happening because Ninja Hog wants to get going. He wants to get big enough and get into these team fight situations where Pax of C4's Karma and Delta Pi's Lulu can go ahead, shield him up, and keep him safe. But that's not possible if there's pressure all across the map. You can't just group of 5, look for a fight that's not there, and allow your other towers to get taken.
And that's hindering multiple members of Ryerson, actually. When you think about a Nunu and you think about the early game counter-pressuring jungle,
There it is.
There we go, that the Nunu loves to have. He's 0-0-0. Yeah, he has got the 43 CS, so he's keeping up, but he hasn't really done much. He's gone for some counter ganks. He's gone to try to help out his team, but without any sort of hardcore objective control, he's sincerely struggling, as evident here as this very early Cloud Drake being picked up by UBC.
Yeah, UBC will be taking that in the event of a smite fight where both junglers are at a neutral objective at the same time. It has to go over to Nunu. Oh, a little bit of a snare there because he's able to go ahead and consume, which does true damage. It does true damage on top of the smite. So anytime there's a contested objective, should be the side of Ryerson's. But if there's pressure across the map, you can't even go to those objectives.
No, you can't really not. But now you've got the dragon going down. You still have multiple members farming in a very... You've got lane swaps all across the board.
Yeah.
The bot lane has gone mid, the mid lane has gone top, and the top has gone bot. So we've had a fun little shift change from multiple members of UBC. But now they're taking things a little bit slower. They're making sure that they understand, hey, we've got power, we've got a little bit in our hands, we've got that 3.5K gold lead. Now let's make sure that we get the items to be able to push that advantage further. You've got the Zeal coming out of the Caitlyn, you've got the stacks being built up onto KT Smurf. When that hits about 6 or 7, as well as the Infinity Edge being completed onto Ozma, that's when I really see the members of UBC really trying to fight. And if they can get down towers in the process while this stall is occurring, then hey, more power to them.
Yeah, and that's for the Rod of Ages there. You can see the number 5 on that purple item. It continually gains stats up to 10 stacks, 1 per minute. And so KT Smurf content with farming up right now, as we do have and engage in the mid lane. No, and on the opposite side for Ryerson, they're fine with farming up too.
They are, but that was a very important summoner spell blown. Ozma actually ended up having to blow his flash there because of a very accurate stun being pulled out by Light Turtle there. And look, the same thing again, another flash being pulled out. So that's 2 flashes down here coming out of UBC, and that's going to be very important for Ryerson if they decide to fight in this mid game, because look at the champions that they have. That's when they're at their strongest. When they get those first 2 items, when they get their first item in a lot of cases, they have a lot of power, they have a lot of opportunity to really succeed. And so blowing those 2 flashes, getting those first items and looking for a fight, Ryerson has an opportunity, or a time window rather, to be able to find themselves some success.
Yeah, it changes up a little bit of how Ryerson can go ahead and engage onto UBC. You don't need a stun now. You can go ahead and get a slow, and the rest of the team will be able to follow that one up, as we see a bit of trading there. And so you have slows with Nunu, you got slows with Karma, you got slows with Lulu, and so maybe a full hard engage might not be it, but it does look like we have a dive opportunity here. Light Turtle playing it right, puts down the event Horizon. That's the big AoE stun that just went down. Teleport coming out of Pax of C4. Flash forward by 22 here, and that's going to be 1 kill heading on over. Pax of C4 now left alone under the tower. Modpo Man trying to come in, but he has no mana. KT Smurf's going to take advantage of that one. Rift walk forward, 1 more attack. Flash away, might be enough. There's the ultimate coming out of Lulu. Great play, and there it is. It's going to be a kill for a kill. No, it's just 1 kill. KT Smurf goes down a little bit too aggressive. All the while, the tower does go down.
You take a shield, you take a shield, everybody gets a shield. It's going to be ModPod coming out to be able to get something good there. KT Smurf a little bit over aggressive. That's where UBC tends to falter. They get happy, they get excited, they get themselves a lead. They go, you know what, we can do this, go, die, kill, but it doesn't end up resulting in one, as Nunu and the rest of the Ryerson squad are able to defend that perfectly.
Defend that perfectly, but the tower did go over to UBC, as we do see the trap game being put down right now. Ozna doing a solid job putting down traps right behind Delta Pi as soon as it goes down. Now Ninja Hawk very low, forced to flash away, drop the heal, ace in the hole coming in, blocked out by Lulu. Good guy support Delta Pi, but takes an auto attack to the face. Very low, no one to defend this mid lane tower. It's going to be going down.
And so just like that, UBC is able to rotate themselves around the map just effectively enough to be able to secure that. And now, because they were able to stall the backing from the Lucian, and you've got a late rotation coming from Life Turtle in the mid lane, they might be able to pick up this second tier 2 tower.
Light Turtle will be late, actually won't even come around at all. So 2 towers for a little bit of trading, and that's going to be even more gold in the coffers of UBC.
It is 30,000 gold to the 23.7 here UBC has over Ryerson, and this is where things start to get a little bit scary, because you've got that lead, you've got the pushing power of the Rift Herald now going to be at your disposal, and that's where you really start to snowball things across. UBC, no matter what roster they have always had the tendency to be able to take an inch, take another inch, push that to a mile, and snowball themselves to a victory. And that's definitely what we're starting to see with the objective control and just raw farming ability that they have done thus far.
The gameplay of UBC right now reminds me very much of old Cloud9. Cloud9, Season 3, Season 4, and part of Season 5, where they have taken an objective and they know exactly what the next objective is. If they get a kill, they go ahead and move right into another objective to keep that lead going. They haven't been stagnant really at all, except for that little period in the middle, which was doing a purpose to get the Roa bigger and get more gold onto Caitlyn.
Yeah, so Caitlyn does have her flash coming up very soon, so I would suggest them to actually want to wait a little bit, but that's a lot of damage. The Daisy gets popped out.
Yeah, Daisy does get called out. So it does come out, does pull out the ultimate out of Kazuhana, not the worst thing in the world. But really, that's a testament to how far behind Ryerson is right now. You get the catch on the AD carry, one of the most fed members, the most fed member in the game, and unfortunately, Light Turtle isn't able to pull out the ultimate to blow anyone up.
No, they don't have anything. Now, they are going to be able to try to push up and get this, but even though you have Zyra at the support position, she still has a lot of wave clear opportunity with her plants, and so they're going to be just as successful at making sure that they defend this tier 2-1 push in the mid lane. You've got Dragon spawning in 10 seconds. If we take a look over at the Dragon right now, you can see it is that Mountain Drake. So that's actually a very important objective for UBC, because they have the range, because they have the power that they currently have in the lead. Being able to get some extra tower burn, being able to get some extra pushing power in that Dragon is definitely what's next on the menu for them.
Let's go ahead and take a look at item spikes here. Lucian able to finally by his Blade of the Rune King. That helps with the additional damage per auto attack in the top lane. Karma, the most fed player on the side of Ryerson with not only 140 CS, but also a kill and an assist. And it doesn't look like Ryerson has the vision necessary to contest this dragon, so it's another dragon with vision control heading on over to the side of UBC.
Vision control is another important piece that we haven't really got a chance to touch upon. Kazahana, we mentioned, got that very early tracker time, but look at what they've been able to do with it. You've got multiple wards across the board in their inventories, making sure that they can acquire vision. And not only acquire vision, as I say, it's not always about how much vision you have, but how much vision you're denying from the enemy. And that is certainly what UBC is doing right now. Anytime Ryerson wants to go into the jungle, anytime Ryerson wants to just move across the map as a whole, they have to do it blindly because the UBC vision control is so powerful. And another turret goes down. UBC starting to run like clockwork.
Yeah, and this is very unfortunate for Ryerson because they have a great team composition for team fighting, and UBC have done a great job of avoiding team fights.
But they don't have any engage. That's the hard part that they're finding themselves in. When you are at a disadvantage and you have those opportunities where it's 5v4, 4v3, something of that effect where you have the numbers advantage, if you buy, you have those opportunities where, hey, I can fight, but without any reliable form of engage, there's really not that much for them to do. Lulu can speed up and try to get a slow. Nunu can throw a snowball at him and try to make something happen. You can technically have the Vygar flash stun, but it has the delay, so it's not extremely reliable. And that's a difficulty that they're finding. So they can stall, they can potentially make things happen later on, but without a reliable form of engage, they're definitely struggling at this point.
Yeah, the Rams all now recalling. And you can see on the map, if we go ahead and take a real close look at the mini-map there, not many wards down for the red side, which is Ryerson. That ward right there getting taken away as well. Kazahana has done a solid job at his role, which hasn't been to go ahead and make plays, but choke out the opposite jungler in Modpo, man. And Modpo just hasn't been able to get going. Does have one kill, but that was more of like a pickup on a mistake.
I think something that really highlights elite level support junglers from others isn't always necessarily their ability to just be supportive, but it's get that vision control. And with that vision control,
is going to be a fight because they just got flanked. Did Ryerson, the teleport was coming out and then goes back in. Modpo Man goes in for one auto attack, forced to flash away, and now it's going to be his life. KT Smurf picking that one up. Light Turtle trying to flash forward to get an ultimate. Gets a double kill heading on over. Slicing Maelstrom being thrown down by 22 here. Delta Pi in a little bit of trouble. Here comes Karma. Not even doing any bit of damage, and that's going to be the fight. 2 kills heading on over to UBC.
They're not going to worry about being over-aggressive. They're not going to worry about going for more when they shouldn't. They've already gotten 2 members down. One of those key members was that jungler, and so that's going to put Baron right on the menu. 23 minutes into the game, not only do they have the 8,000 gold lead, but they've been able to secure objective after objective, and that's only going to get stronger when you can blow somebody up the way KT Smurf is.
KT Smurf said, see you later, Ninja Hog. No one wants you. We're going to go ahead and have some barbecue. It's another flash forward, and it's another kill heading on over to KT Smurf. He knows his power levels. He has it just right. It's 2 kills heading over to him.
Give me 1, give me 2. Give me those stacks for the door, for the dark ring there from KT Smurf. 7-2, and the game has been blown wide open here for UBC.
UBC tightening the screws, closing this one out. 7-2, not a high kill game, but it's been comprehensively all UBC all the time. Unfortunately for Ryerson, they really never got a foothold in this matchup now, with traps down, with lanes pushing, and the Baron powered minions helping out to take this tower. It looks like this tower's not belong to this world.
No, it's not. It's going to be down very, very quickly. Ozma, he's able to get the traps and the damage, and that's going to be a 1, 2, 3, 4. Light Turtle goes to the grave, and that's almost certainly going to be the tower next.
Yep, tower very, very low, and the trap game on point. Caitlyn doing work. Ozna, great play there from him. Tower does go down. They're onto the inhibitor. Here goes Daisy. Daisy moves forward. Kazahana took it, thinks better of it, backs off. Ninja Hog now forced to go back as well. And so with the inhibitor going down, it's not going to be too much left for Ryerson. Also in the mid lane, Kennen takes the mid lane inhibitor.
Yeah, because they were trying so hard to stop that Baron push on the top side, and with Light Turtle down and unable to clear and stall that selves out, that allowed 22 Year to push in the mid lane and be able to secure himself an inhibitor as well. So 24.5 minutes in the game, 2 inhibitors down, a 13,000 gold lead here for the side of UBC. They are rocking and rolling, and they are certainly showing the dominance and the pedigree that they're bringing to this invitational.
Definitely. There is not a lot of answers left for Ryerson here. 45,000 to 32,500. Just a massive gold lead for UBC. Clinical for them. If you're Ryerson, how much more stock do you put into this game, or how much does your mind start drifting to the next?
I think you have to start shifting your mindset about, okay, how do we fix the next game? And for me, a big piece of the next game comes into that pick ban phase. You have to create some form of reliable engage in the current meta, because you cannot stall out if you're behind in this current setup. Yeah, they've got the shields, they've got the ability to speed up, they've got conditional CC in a lot of ways. Conditional in the sense of you have a stun coming out of Life Turtle, but without that delay coming through, or with the delay coming through, it's very conditional. You've got slows, you've got opportunities like this, but look, without the damage, without the power behind you, there's really not much else you can do. So that pick ban phase really decides and differentiates the changes that we should hopefully see in game 2.
Unfortunately, no primordial burst coming out now. Lucian getting caught up, and Osna picks up one. Stranglethorn's going to zone away the rest of the team. KT Smurf picks up a kill. He's unstoppable. KT Smurf on the back line. Modpo Man trying to get one more absolute zero, and that's the only thing left on his health. Absolutely zero. There's 4 kills heading on over to UBC.
UBC has, like we said, rocked and rolled, and through one of the most collective efforts that we've seen for them in the past couple weeks. We've seen the missteps that they've had across the board, but today, right now, game 1 goes over to UBC in stunning fashion.
That's right, UBC coming all the way on over from Vancouver, going to take that first win, 12-2, massive win for them. And questions for Ryerson?
Questions for Ryerson is, how do we change the pick ban phase? I think that really comes down to it. Early game was very slow. There was the kill trades in the top lane. That's something that you're used to seeing. It's not that big of a deal. They played safe, they played comfortable, but then they weren't able to do anything in the mid game. You had a very big struggle from Mod Pullman. When you pick yourself a new jungle, you're committing to counter jungling and vision control. If you don't have those two aspects, then you're going to struggle. And the way that Kazahana was able to essentially control every piece of not only his own jungle, but the enemy jungle as well, that definitely puts a question mark on how you shift your play style, specifically in the jungle position for Ryerson in game 2.
And I think when you pick a late scaling AP champion like Vigar in the mid lane, if your jungler's not supporting you all that much, Light Turtle might as well change his name to Dark Turtle, because his screen was gray the whole time.
Yeah.
So very unfortunate for him.
Yeah, very unfortunate indeed. And for UBC, your really big questions are, okay, how can we create a repeat process? They had a couple missteps on that engage in the bot lane. You saw a late teleport coming out of CJ. It wasn't something that you're used to seeing, but those kind of communication mistakes happen. Everybody's human. Everybody kind of has a lapse in that communication. They've talked a lot about how something that differs with this roster as opposed to previous rosters is, in previous rosters, they had JJ, their top laner, now coach, doing all of the shot calling. It was a little bit of a difficulty, but now they have everybody putting in, and so those lapses of communication can create a struggle. But because they're able to push ahead, I see them trying to do their best to try to create as much of a repeat performance as possible.
Yep, and a repeat performance that will be coming up is game 2 between Ryerson and UBC. Will Ryerson be able to go ahead and find the answers to the questions that UBC has been asking? We'll find out right after this message. right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Scotiabank Theatre here in Toronto for Game 2 of the Canadian Invitational between Ryerson and University of British Columbia. UBC taking a decisive Game 1 victory over Ryerson. What do you think Ryerson can do to go ahead and pull out the stops here?
It's really a decision on how do you change your bans, because KT Smurf popped off on that cast. And granted, a lot of those kills were later on when the game was kind of essentially quote-unquote over, but he definitely performed very well. So how do you change your pick ban strategy? How do you kind of shift things up to be able to have it? And for me, I think they need to be a little bit more aggressive across the board, but more importantly, they need to find a way to have some engage on their team.
Yeah, no hard CC on that whole team composition. We talked about a lot of movement. We talked about a lot of slows and speed ups, but really no hard engage. That was something that we didn't quite touch on too much. Karma did have the snare, but that was really about it, and it really ended up costing Ryerson opportunities to engage.
Yeah, it did indeed. But as we are getting into Champ Select, we're going to see exactly how both of these teams are going to change up their strategies for Game 2. This isn't a best of 5. This is a best of 3, and so you're very reliant on this Game 2 if you're UBC to put out a very strong performance. And so it's going to be the Rek'Sai as well as the Lulu band away on the blue side here coming out of Ryerson, as well as the Ziggs and the Kazakhs bands coming out here of UBC.
No jungler change here. Kazahana will stay in. Proof will stay out for this one. So Kazahana known as a defensive type jungler, so Rek'Sai and Ivern taken away. Ivern, one of the different changes here.
So a big thing for this is, are the members of UBC going to deny that Karma? When you ban either Lulu or Karma, that forces the other team to either ban it away or ensure that it's being given up on blue side. They didn't want to give it away on blue side. They banned it away. That left the Sejuani open. So now you're going to see Modpon going in a little bit of a different jungler. He has the engage. This was something that they need. So already a very solid first round pickup here by the side of Ryerson.
Solid pick here, but is it first pick worthy? I know that's your big issue.
I think so. I think it's definitely first pick worthy, because the only other options in the jungle are the Graves or the Lee Sin. That's not necessarily as much as Modpin's style, so I definitely feel like the Sejuani is important, but that leaves open the kind of next tier that we've seen coming out of UBC. They secure the Zyra support again for 7-3-4, but look at what they've done. They've committed to the Ashe.
Yeah, 7-3-4 pulling out the Zyra. We got to see how well him and Osna on the bottom side of the map played it. It was absolute suffocation for the Lucian that just was not in range to do anything. And to fix that, it does look like Ninja Hog's going to pull out Caitlyn with the extended range.
Yeah, Caitlyn with the extended range and Nami to help out as well. Caitlyn Nami is a very oppressive lane. If you're a player of League of Legends, if you play in the bot lane, this is not a matchup that you enjoy going up against, because it's just poke after poke after poke. And this synchronizes very well as well with the new Sejuani, because like we said, her new ultimate requires some extra distance before it becomes extremely strong. It's actually 400 units before that Bola becomes an empowered Bola, with the tidal wave from Nami that actually synchronizes very well and gives just enough of a time for that Sejuani ultimate to come up. But now, flipping on the other side, it's going to be another Kennen.
Kennen and Nunu getting taken this time by Kazahana. Kazahana going to go ahead and show Modpod a thing of how to play the Yeti, or the Yeti Rider, that is. And again, a control tanky type jungler being selected here by Kazahana.
But this is where you see the difference in the UBC composition versus Game 1 Ryerson composition. You have engage still. You've got the flash stun coming out of Kennen, whether that's played in the top or the mid lane, and then you have the Ashe arrow as well. And so there are still opportunities for them to be able to engage and have a solid teamfight composition. But we've seen the control that Kazahana has had on those support style junglers with the Nunu thrown in it as well. I want to see how he's able to kind of switch things up of obtaining vision to now just hardcore counter jungling.
Light Turtle. We've got to talk about it. Did not have the performance on his pocket pick. Ooh. What is it going to be in the mid lane? There's some burst, and that's what I want to see. Syndra going to be locked in for Light Turtle. A little bit more of a meta pick and very strong. Surprised that, LeBlanc still in the pool of champions to get picked. Wasn't picked, but Syndra, very solid pick.
Yeah, Syndra's a very solid pick in of itself. So not only do they have engage, but they have follow-up CC. Yes, you can kind of engage with a Syndra if they're in range, but that's not something that you're going to see from time to time. But what better way to go up against it if you know your strength? It's going to be with the Kassadin. Now, we have seen, though, with the lanes figuring up, it is going to be the Fizz versus the Kennen. But again, KT Smurf, we saw him pop off again with that Kassadin in the mid lane in Game 1. He has the opportunity to do it against the Syndra, but if the Syndra is able to get ahead, if Mod Pullman is able to somehow control the early game and find a way to get Life Turtle ahead in some gold and get that first item spike, there is an opportunity for Syndra to kind of throw off onto the KT Smurf before he gets that Rod of Ages going.
And one of the things that I love about the Kassadin matchup here for teams, or for players that are confident enough, I wouldn't say cocky, but confident enough to pull it off, is the whole usage of Null Sphere. Null Sphere, when you cast it, it not only does the damage, but gives you a shield to protect you from AP damage coming back. And he did a great job against Vygar last game to mitigate the damage coming in. It's the same thing here with Syndra. If Syndra goes ahead, drops one of her Dark Spheres, will Kassadin, will KT Smurf be able to time that one correctly with the Null Spear?
Yeah, it's that. And for me, I think if you think about the bigger picture and exactly what, where, and how Ryerson is going to try to find themselves some success, I think it revolves around a question mark of can they flip the switch. You take a look at their team composition, Fizz in the top lane. It's not the safe, cautious Karma that you had in game one. It's a lot more aggressive, a lot more need to be the oppressor against that Kennen, especially once you get Chum the Waters available. You've got Caitlyn and Nami in the bot lane. They are aggressive. They need to be aggressive and they have to get ahead. Whereas you have a bot lane that's generally known for being a little bit more safe, being a little more cautious. And so with these kind of changes in play styles that they're being forced to have, this is going to really be the true test of if Ryerson can not only flip that switch, but flip it in a correct way to combat UBC.
And one of the big things I like about this more aggressive pick in the top lane is when we had our interviews, some of the guys a little quiet, they're young. Mm-hmm. The one player that wasn't quiet that we couldn't get to shut up so we could ask questions to other people was Pax of C4 in the top lane. And on the Karma, he played pretty well in that pokey range matchup. Now we get to see him on a carry champion and see if his personality also shines.
That was something that we asked him. We said, what is your play style? What is it that you like to accomplish when you go into a game? And he says, I like to carry. I like to be the one that is putting people to the test and really making sure that if you can go toe-to-toe, I'm going to force you to have to go to it, or I'm going to snowball and I'm going to help push my team to something victorious.
And a great storyline to watch out for is 22 years CJ. On his team, he's the one that went ahead and was like, CJ, all right, we don't need any more clips from you. Be quiet. But he's the talker. He's the confident one on his team. Maybe not the most veteran, but however, was definitely one of the leaders of that team.
He was indeed, and it showed in his proactivity with that Kennen. Not only was he able to have teleports across the map, but constantly when these skirmishes were happening in both their jungle and in the enemy jungle, he was always making sure to flank around. He was always trying to, in a way, have his own agenda, but more importantly, ensure that it was relevant to the rest of his team.
So with that, also one more look at the jungle matchup. Modpo Man, Nunu, right? Kazahana now doesn't have a buddy to go ahead and call upon to help out when he gets caught out, but Modpo Man really didn't make an impact on the jungle, on the vision at all, and we talked about it. Light Turtle really struggled because of that.
Yeah, Light Turtle definitely struggled, and now with him having an opportunity to not only get ahead early, but to carry, that is a chance for him to push things across and really see if KT Smurf has what it takes on this Kassadin for game 2.
Yep, definitely. So with that, we're gonna go ahead and kick to a commercial break. But before we do, we have to thank our Asus partner here with Staples. $200 savings at Staples on Asus laptops. That's available over at the Asus table, at the Asus Staples table outside. Go ahead, check it out. But before we go ahead and get into the game, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to have game 2 between Ryerson and UBC. Don't touch that browser. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was a very short break, and we are back for Game 2 between Ryerson and UBC. Ryerson this time on the blue side, so let's run down their roster with them first. On the top lane, it's going to be Pax of C4 on Fizz. At jungle, it's Modpo Man on Sejuani. At mid lane, it's Light Turtle on Syndra. And at AD carry and support, it's Ninja Hog and Delta Pi on Caitlyn and Nami.
And for University of British Columbia, taking up the red side, one win away from entering the grand finals here for the Canadian Invitational.
Yeah.
It's going to be 22-year or CJ in that top lane. It's going to be Kazahana in the jungle, KT Smurf in the mid lane, Ozma at AD carry with 734 at support.
So both teams kind of feeling each other out here early on. Not too much trading. It does look like a ward does go down on the side of Ryerson, but they have an idea now that UBC wanted to get a little aggressive in that jungle area. With that, though, both teams kind of going to hang out.
Yeah, I like this early decision to find out exactly where Kazahana is starting when you consider the power of a Nunu and his jungle pressure and jungling ability. Being able to ensure where he's at so you can track that accurately as the enemy jungler, things are extremely important. And so they did ward that red buff. There was another ward being put down actually by Kazahana to make sure that there wasn't a counter push by himself. And he's just going to roam around actually over to the blue side jungle. And so that's going to give Mopen as well as the rest of the Ryerson squad knowledge of where he's starting and where exactly to expect him in the next few minutes.
Yeah, so a little bit of knowledge here, and that's what this early game is, along with a little bit of annoyance coming out of 22-year and CJ. But giving early knowledge for the junglers on where each other are, it tells where they might gank. Normally we see the first gank around 3 minutes, 3:15, and so if they take any other path, any other longer path, it throws off most times where teams are aware of where the other jungler might be.
Yeah, and this importance gets compounded exponentially when you're going against somebody such as the Nunu. Because of Nunu's power in counter jungling and his rapid ability to clear camps, it's extremely important to be able to ensure you know where he is at all times. And so with that being said, both of the junglers are going to rotate onto the other side of the map, secure their second buff, as we see a lot of poke going down here onto the bot side. Zyra making sure that she can get as much damage up as much possible on this enemy bot.
Yep, something to look out for here around the 3-minute, 12, 15, maybe 3:20 time frame. Will the junglers gank the side that they're on right now? Nunu on the top side of the map, will he help out the Kennen on the bottom side of the map? Will Sejuani help out Ninja Hog and Delta Pi? And my guess is that maybe the bot side will get help because they're getting shoved in on the top side of the map. Kennen's doing a solid job pushing Fizzing.
Yeah, he knows that Mod Pullman started on the top side of the jungle, so he's going to be going and clearing onto the bot side. So he has that opportunity to push himself up. And not only that, but that also gives Kazahana an ability to not only quick clear onto the bot side and then rotate onto the top and get a counter jungle himself. You can see he's taking that Gromp on the enemy side. As much denial as you can create as a Nunu, the much better off you're going to be, because the longer that you can delay that level 6 power spike from a Sejuani, the better off you're going to be in ensuring that your team isn't at any sort of disadvantage from the standard ability sake of it.
So Nunu doing what a Nunu does, gets in the enemy jungle and taking away resources, experience, because there's only a certain amount of gold on the map, only a certain amount of experience points on the map for characters to go ahead and take. So junglers with their jungle minions are very important. Anytime it gets taken away, it really slows down their power spike, and they can't just randomly waltz into a lane. If they do that, one, they're taking away experience and gold from the champion in that lane, and also they're getting information on where they're at.
And I want to draw to this mid lane for a second. Even though you've had a very solid amount of poke coming down. Uh-oh, just as I say that though.
Yep, looks like the top laner going to go down. Pax of C4 getting taken down. It's the first kill heading on over to UBC.
A fantastic little recoil there coming out of Kazahana. He knew that level 4 quick power spike of that extra point in the Fizz ability, being able to get that extra tick of damage on the W, is an opportunity for him to be able to go in. And so being able to be there, help out his team, ensure a kill now for CJ, that's going to put this Ken and Fizz matchup in a that much more difficult spot if you're Pax of C4.
And that's very unfortunate for Ryerson. Pax of C4 was the one they were putting hopes and dreams on to get ahead, but instead Kazahana was very aware of it, camping around the top side of the map, and probably an ill-fated kill attempt there by Pax of C4. CJ, 22-year, able to go ahead, take advantage of it, and will be able to push.
And so taking stock of where we're at right now at about the 5-minute mark, again, we saw the aggression up into the top side of the map. In 22-year, even though he did secure himself that kill, it was a very solid effort by him or a very conscious decision, rather, to know that, hey, this Fizz still does a heck of a lot of damage. So he buys the Negatron Cloak, he gets those resistances to make sure that he's not going to be able to put himself in too difficult of a spot if he does get caught out, and you have the jungle gank from the Sejuani as well. And so now, this is an opportunity for the side of UBC to really continue to push themselves up off of an advantage. You've got the Tracker's Knife being done on Kazahana. He's making sure that he can acquire some vision control, because the more, like we said, that he can deny that Sejuani, the more powerful they're going to be.
Here at 6 minutes, about a 1,000 gold lead because of the kill in the top lane, and again, just CS advantages across the map. A CS advantage in the top side of the map, that is, and Kennan's going to be able to push that one very, very heavily. Nunu getting around, although it's only 4 minions, it's 4 big minions, and he's taking advantage of the gold that he has as well. A little bit of trading going down, and 7-3-4, which is very impressive on that side.
Yeah, Nami's doing everything she can to try to get those bounces. I understand the tactic that Delta Pi is trying to pop off, but it's just not working.
Unleashed power not going to be enough by KT Smurf. He's able to rift walk away, and Light Turtle, yeah, I like this out of Light Turtle, able to go ahead and oppress in the mid lane.
He is indeed, and look at what he did. He's actually very confident. Instead of going for that catalyst to have that extra health to kind of help himself out against the Syndra, he actually decided to just do nothing and get the blasting one because of that extra power that it provides. That's great, that's awesome, but he doesn't have the survivability, so he got very lucky there, and I think if that kill would have happened across, that would have been a really big turning point for Light Turtle in the mid lane.
Yeah, Light Turtle was the one that most of his team likes to play around. He did get bodied pretty early in that last game, ending 0-5-0. However, he has a promising start here in the mid lane.
He does indeed. As now you're looking at where you're at, the level 6 is just starting to hit. Modpoman is not yet at that level 6. He's about halfway there, so a couple more camps before he starts to be able to have that bola to help out his team. The level 6 is almost being done on the bot side as well, and seeing the way that the jungle pathing is going through Modpoman, you've got the blue buff up, so he's going to be able to throw that over onto Light Turtle, and then rotate himself around, hopefully pick up that red buff as well, and then make a trip into the bot lane. Teleports are up almost onto Pax at C4, and so this could be an opportunity for Ryerson to really try to make their mark and try to be a little bit more proactive on the side of the Rift.
However, if the bottom lane does push up a little bit too far, teleports on the side of CJ22 here and not on the side of Pax of C4. Nice roam there by KT Smurf, able to go ahead and burn the flash from Delta Pi. Delta Pi able to live, but maybe not be able to hold the tower too long.
That's the advantage that the blasting one gives you, an extra 40 AP to be able to throw into your abilities and put that much more damage. And not only was he able to get off that damage in a successful roam without losing too much in the mid lane, but that allows his bot lane to push up into the tower and propel themselves even harder. Because Ozma decided to go for that second item call, he's very reliant on farming up and waiting for those stacks to pay off. And so with that being said, any help, any opportunity to alleviate pressure from his lane that he can get, he's definitely going to take advantage.
Oh, Light Turtle again using the unleashed power, not quite enough yet to kill Kazahana. These are good catches, but he just doesn't have the AP, the damage to burst anyone down yet.
No, I think he's being a little bit over-aggressive. He's really expecting himself to pick up a kill, but he's not realizing the damage output that his ultimate really provides without not only the lack of items, but the lack of spheres that are present. You need at least 3 spheres on the board with an enemy of that effect for really to be able to get that damage and stack up appropriately. Wasn't able to do just that, and with the really quick, easy consume power that you have coming out of a Nunu, he's going to get right back up to full health pretty quickly and just resume his Nunu case.
Yep, so here we go, about 4 minutes after the last check-in, at 9 minutes, 1-0, about still 1,000 gold lead, both teams holding fair. So since it's been relatively equal, who wins out if the team continues to stall in scale?
I think a huge piece of it really comes to UBC because they are so successful when they get their first item. The double bork coming out of CJ as well as Ozma, as well as that Rod of Ages, the second it gets completed from KT Smurf, that's a very quick window that it applies just to how raw and how expensive it really is. And even though that's the case, you can see how much damage it does already. And so I think that UBC, if they continue this way up, they will continue to build themselves up and to continue to have that pressure. You've got an Ocean Drake up and available. In 5 seconds, you've got that Rift Herald up as well. And so with somebody like a Nunu and that ability to farm up, you have opportunities to create yourself some success.
One thing that I don't like that we haven't seen yet is Monpo hasn't gone into any of the lanes.
No.
He hasn't used Glacial Prison. He's been level 6 probably for about 3 to 4 minutes now, and hasn't taken advantage of his secured CC to force a fight, burn some summoners, and then possibly force the rest of UBC into some sort of corridor. And unfortunately, it is stalling out this game.
It is, and in a lot of cases, you saw that as actually okay, because the Cinderhulk kind of provided, but with the changes to Cinderhulk they had, they changed it to more pushing power and doing more damage versus minions. But as we say that, here comes Modpan coming in.
Tidal wave into the bubble, into the glacial prism, wombo combo. Delta Pi picks one up, but here comes a teleport from 22 here. Late teleport coming out of packs of C4, not going to get in there. CJ forced to back up. Flash forward by Modpo Man. Chum the waters, hits the waters. One kill gets traded over, and Ryerson finally getting some momentum. Flash away by Ash, but here comes Kazahana looking for a snowball, feeling a snowball, does packs of C4, and they're going to disengage. A nice play by Ryerson.
Not only was it a nice play by Ryerson, but it was a stellar play by Ninja Hog. He threw down the trap exactly where the teleport location from 22 year was at, so he actually had a delayed flash ultimate, which essentially made him irrelevant in that fight. Combine that with packs of C4, but
hold
now...
on a second, more balls getting down. Light Turtle forced to flash away. There's 3 balls on the map. Ooh, does not unleash the power there. KT Smurf looking for flash forward, and he knows his power level. It's another kill heading on over to KT Smurf.
That's the spike of the rod of mages we were talking about. Teleports to the lane, picks up the kill. Now the team has an alleviated level of pressure. The dragon goes down as well, and just like that, in a 60-second period, UBC pulls ahead.
So UBC losing the fight on the bottom side of the map, figuring out where the gaps were on Ryerson's map coverage, and Dragon heading right on over.
Dragon heading right over. They've got themselves a lead. Delta Pi tries to get the slow.
Yep, slows are going down. 7-3-4, forced to flash away. Held on to that very, very long, almost got out. Either way, not a huge loss, and good pressure, good counter punch here by the UBC team.
And it's not only what they've been able to accomplish in the objective control, but it's where they've been able to pump these resources. You've got a kill in all of your laners. You've got some support in the assist coming out of Kazahana as well. And when you have those as an opportunity and you're putting the gold and you're pumping that efficiency into the side of your carries, when you're confident in your players the way that UBC is, this creates a very good opportunity for you to take that gold advantage, put it in your pocket, sell it to the shopkeeper, get yourself some extra items, and really try to snowball and help just elevate that damage. As here we go.
Chum the Waters does go down. Long-range glacial prison again, and nice stun chain. It's going to be another kill heading on over to Ryerson. That's a nice play there by Modpo and packs of C4.
You threw the question mark up of where is Sejuani, what is she doing? And 2 out of 2 now with those ultimates, being able to pick something off the mark. They're not only going to be able to pick up the kill, but they're going to be able to get an exponential level amount of damage onto this top tower. And as a result, though, look at what you're seeing coming out of UBC. They're 4-man stacking into the bot side. That's going to have to be Ryerson running the heck out of waves because there are multiple members here coming through.
The big question now is, will Caitlyn and Nami be able to hold this tower against the blood-boiled Ashe and Zyra? It's very dangerous for them to stay longer than a couple of seconds. If they decide to engage under the tower, they do. Ninja Hog and Delta Pi doing their best to get rid of those minions, but all the while, Ryerson able to pick up the first tower on the top side of the map. There's only 1 minion left. Kazahana going to flash forward. Absolute zero, not going to land. There's the arrow. Turn it around. Let's have some sushi. Ah's not going to pick up Delta Pi.
The fact that they were able to stall that out and say, you know what, Ash, you need to be the one to pick up that kill was fantastic.
Party in the top side of the map. It's going to be 22 years locked up, stunned up, unleashed
Oh no,
power.
he's going to get away.
Not enough, and 22 years still alive. There it is. And the dot damage more than enough. Barely enough, that is. Packs of C4 going to pick that one up. All the while, though, it's still a push on the bottom side of the map.
This is the difficulty that you have. When you commit that many members to one side of the map against the split pusher, you're going to create a difficult opportunity because that's going to allow the enemy to push. Now, with that being said, Ryerson is able to have complete control of the Rift Herald, so they're going to ensure that they have that extra pushing power. But look at how much damage this hero will have being pushed down.
A little bit of catch there on Ninja Hog. He is low on mana, so he needs to be careful. KT Smurf thinking about getting in. Chum the Water's not going to land. KT Smurf going to pick this one up. Rift walks forward, doesn't get the damage down. Very low. The smite has to come down out of Modpo Man, but he's going to pay for it. He has no mana. KT Smurf has another Rift walk. Will use it. Modpo in a lot of trouble. Will he be able to dash over the wall? No, he won't. KT Smurf picks that one up. So although the tower stays alive, it's 2 kills heading on over to the carry.
And this is where the synergy of UBC starts to happen. All right, we weren't able to get the tower into the top side. KT Smurf, what can you do over at the Rift Herald? He's able to pick up the 2 kills. The rest of the members rotate over to the mid side of the map. They're able to get themselves off some damage, and this is a solid opportunity of UBC of taking these little missteps of Ryerson and trying to push themselves an advantage. And Life Turtle,
he's getting collapsed upon. Nice push away. Might not be enough. No, the clench is not enough. Light Turtle does go down. He gets stepped on. And it's going to be a little bit of turtle soup here for UBC. Now in the mid lane, Pax of C4 thinking about helping it out, but no, down goes the tower. And so a huge cost here. This is great macro play by UBC.
It is. If you're able to essentially compartmentalize your resources and push them in different directions while still making sure that you get a net outcome for your team, you know you're doing something right. A little piece that you don't necessarily look at too much that UBC did well, not only were they able to pick up the kill on the Light Turtle, but as a result of that, they forced the teleport out of Pax of C4. So now you have a double teleport advantage in CJ as well as KT Smurf, and with that teleport down, now they can continue to show this cross-map pressure. It's not all about throwing the ARAM and all 5 members in one direction. It's being able to affect as many points of the map at one point as you can, and UBC is doing definitely just that.
And what I like, what UBC did here was the whole time that they were shoving the bottom side of the map, they knew that the Rift Herald was the next objective that Ryerson was going to be able to pick up. And so instead of going in the mid lane and just taking the farm, KT Smurf gives up one wave of minions, roams up to the Rift Herald, knowing it's a 2-man Rift Herald attempt, and picks up that kill, as we do see Light Turtle now getting in there. Ninja Hawk wants a little piece of KT Smurf, will get it, ace in the hole, does land, that's a kill over to Ryerson.
It is indeed, as Ryerson is able to have a nice attack, a little bit of overaggression. We've seen KT Smurf do this from time to time, but here comes the Rift Herald, you beautiful, lovely, ugly little monster. He's going to charge up, he's going to get in, and that's going to be the first tier turret into the mid lane, but they're not done yet because look at the very late response coming out of UBC.
Yep, UBC forced to recall across the map, and now the Rift Herald helping out. It might be 2 towers here. It is 2 towers here, and a late rotation out of UBC keeps this match very close.
And this is where Ryerson can start to put their own positional macro at play because you've got Dragon spawning in 15 seconds. They're able to push through the jungle, secure themselves some vision wards on the enemy side, take the blue buff away, put it into the hands of Light Turtle, and position themselves appropriately to do it as the tidal wave comes out.
Tidal wave does come out, head first goes Sejuani, Chum the Water's not going to land, flash forward by Monko, man, that's going to allow the rest of his team to come in, double fight going down, double big ultimate coming out of Kevin, but here comes KT Smurf, untouched, and with a vengeance, he's going to clean this fight up, it's the ace heading on over to UBC.
They're hungry, they saw the menu, but it was an immediate denial from UBC. Absolutely phenomenal chain of ultimates there coming out of every single member, and now not only they're going to get a 5-for-1 ace, but it's going to be a tier 2 tier for them in the mid lane.
At least a tier 2, it might be also a tier 3. No, they're going ahead and being onto the dragon. They're going to back off, and really unfortunate timing there for Ryerson. They thought they had a 5v4. They thought they had enough time to get in there. KT Smurf didn't even teleport, was able to respawn, get to the fight, and clean that one up.
The worst part about that entire setup was it was Mod Poman with the lack of an ultimate. He had just gone into the top side of the map to try to make something happen and to help out his team, but it wasn't able to work out, so he didn't have that ultimate available. Without that extra lockup, that is so much less of crowd control that the members of Ryerson are able. Their entire composition revolves around the Scatter the Weak, the Tidal Wave from the Nami, and the ultimate coming out of Sejuani. Without those at your disposal, your team fight ability goes down significantly. UBC recognized that, they took advantage, they got the sweep, and now look at what they were able to do with the map.
Yep, they were able to go ahead and make it their own with the wards. Again, we're starting to see UBC play the vision game on point as we see another ward getting taken away from Ryerson. And another point about all of the engages, the Chum the Waters missed as well. Pax of C4 barely missing it, but again, they saw it, they didn't get it, and they still decided to move in, and Ryerson was punished. And this is what we talked about in game 1. Where is your engage? You don't have it. In this case, it is on the champion's kit, but it wasn't up. And you still went in, and they absolutely got punished.
Yeah, they absolutely got punished. There's nothing that Ryerson is able to do if they're not able to hit those ultimates. And when you think about that, the sense of what those crowd control abilities bring to the table, as well as the deficiency that they have across the board when it comes to items. I mean, you take a look at Caitlyn, she's 1-1-3. That's fantastic for Ninja Hog, but doesn't have any oomph to the power at all. As, oh no!
Nice. No! Nice little dodge away by Modpo, man. Did get rooted up, but did not stop the movement. Oh no!
Oh no!
I'm sorry. All right. So that was a scary moment there. Modpo man able to get away. Now we do have the top laners on the bottom side of the map going a little bit of Australian. And it does look like Pax of C4 doesn't want any of 22 UBC going to bully that tower down. And now it does look like UBC is going to go ahead and A-ram the mid lane.
Yeah, they've got the security. No, they're actually going to lead 22 here into the bot side. They know the power that he brings. He has a 50 CS advantage over Pax of C4. He knows that there's a lot of power on there. However, UBC, this is actually where they struggle. Yes, they've got a lead. Yes, they've got a sense of power, but in the mid game, sometimes they struggle with deciding, okay, what, where, how, and why do we need to push in the directions that we are. And when you have a sense of wave clear, the way that Ryerson does, that could create for a problematic situation for UBC, and we're seeing just that. They tried to push something in the mid lane. Okay, well, let's rotate it around to the top. Okay, let's go to the bottom. Like, there really isn't kind of a sense of fluency that we're seeing from their macro play right now, and that's where I want to see if UBC is really able to kind of push it to the next step and really continue to snowball their lead into more objectives.
We do have pings going down by UBC onto the Baron. It's a 6,500 gold lead right now, and they might think about throwing that one away by calling the Baron. They're just going to do the Baron bait. We're hiding in the bush. The Dragon is not going to land, so that Baron attempt gets sniffed out very early. Modco Man going to hand the blue buff on over to Light Turtle. Turtle going to pick that up. That'll help his mana consumption, keep him spamming his abilities, but during the downtime here, we're at 22 minutes here. What are the item spikes that we're looking for on the side of Ryerson? Because Kassadin is huge.
Kassadin is very huge. You've actually got the new tank item being built by Kaizahana. He started to get the pieces for it, so he's going to have a lot more tankiness coming into these next fights, so that's an opportunity for them to have onto something. I think they're actually at a very big power spike. Where they're at right now is something that they're at their strongest, and with double teleports, I think if I was UBC, I would push for that 1-3-1 kind of strategy. Split up your resources. There's no one that can 1v1 KT Smurf right now.
Correct.
So stick him in a side lane. You've got just as much power coming out of CJ in the top. Stick him in a different lane, and then push your 3 members, because there's only one form of reliable wave clear in Light Turtle on that Syndra, and you can only be in one place at one time. So if you can find a way to separate those resources and make sure that they spread themselves thin, then you have an opportunity to really push yourself on other sides of the map.
And that's a very good point. I was going to correct you. Say, well, they have a Caitlyn. Caitlyn wave clears very well, but Ninja Hawk did not build Runon's Hurricane, which splits up her auto attacks and helps out with the wave clear. And so because of that, it does look like opportunities like this might arise. Modpo Man able to get away once again. And so the 1-3-1 opportunity is still there. Right now it's a little bit more of a flex 1-3-1, maybe a 4-1 situation. And again, the Baron will be started up.
They want the Baron. They're going to just completely abandon all sense of macro strategy because they want to make sure that they have the Baron. Pax of C4 has to be very, very careful because he knows that he can't really do too much because Kennen hard counters that Fizz once he comes in with that ultimate, and that's a struggle that Pax of C4 knows is available, especially considering he's only sitting on 1 item.
And 2 levels down.
Yeah, it's not an ideal situation for him at all. And so it's really coming down to, are they able to stall, or is UBC able to push the menu? And that's not what UBC has actually done. This is Baron number 2 attempt that not only has gotten sniffed out by Ryerson, but it's also been just completely stopped. And so they are at a very difficult spot in what they want to do. And this is actually playing right into the Ryerson strategy because it's giving them an opportunity to farm themselves up and really try to find a way to catch up in items.
Ryerson does have a little ways to go. 50 CS discrepancy in the top lane. Almost a little lead there by Light Turtle, but not in all accounts by Gold. There's 5 kills on the side of KT Smurf, none on the side of Light Turtle, and Ninja Hawk also down a significant amount. So although, yes, they have an opportunity to farm, not sure it's going to be enough to go ahead and catch on up as the Baron has started yet for the 3rd time. Teleport now coming in for Pax of C4. Cannot be stopped by CJ. He's not around. The Kennen now teleporting a little bit closer to Modpo Man. The bubble coming out late. 22 year getting caught out. There's the ultimate wombo combo. Lose power going to get down. And there's the kill heading on over to Ryerson. That's the first kill. Stranglethorn's going to slow things down. But here goes KT Smurf. Nice 3-man E not going to land. There's a stun on Ozna. Ozna forced to back up. The ultimates have been used by most teams. And there goes your tanky Rider goes down. There's KT Smurf with another kill. Ignite going down. Ooh, Nunu very low, but will live. And Light Turtle going to walk this one out. Still aggressive positioning by UBC. They still want to continue to chase.
They want to continue. They've got the numbers advantage. And
KT Smurf wants the support, not able to get it. Here comes back to C4. Accidental trap. Down goes the main carry of UBC, and it's a 2 for 2.
It was a little bit of a, I don't know. So that entire situation was very well executed by the side of Ryerson on realizing, okay, we got to pick, we need to go in, but then they got a little bit of aggression. When you have as much lockup and slow that you have on the side of UBC, you can't push two back and play into their retreating playstyle because you are going to get punished. That's exactly what they saw. They were able to pick up the kills back and forth, but again, look at what UBC is able to do. Every opportunity that they can to get a tower, every opportunity that they can to throw down another objective, they're pushing it off strong.
And I think that's just fear from Ryerson, maybe a little bit of experience that they're gaining right now. The side of UBC was very low as well, but Ryerson decided to go back and heal instead of defend a tower, go and push the mid lane, get something going. They all just were like, okay, we're low, let's go heal. All the while, UBC is like, we're low, but let's continue to push on and take an objective. They do that and accelerate their lead.
They're able to accelerate that lead, and I think a big piece of that is the land experience that we're talking about. When you can have more conscious decisions from your team, if you have that live there set up, then you can create those opportunities. That's exactly what you see coming from UBC. They know their limits, they know what they can and can't push, and they know what they're pushing right now. They gave up the dragon, but that's a huge opportunity for them to take out the Baron. They have a Nunu on their side, but they're gonna go back again.
Looks like a little bit of a split call here, but what's not split is KT Smurf. He's about to go in, thinking about it. Nope, decides not to. And another Baron attempt stopped by Ryerson. That's really their only play right now.
It is, but hey, it's allowing them to stall out and secure those objectives. I like this decision by UBC not to go in, because when you look at the composition that they have, once the Ash Arrow lands, if you're not in range to get the Zyra follow-up, then all of the marbles are in the pockets of 22 Year. And without that flash and without that ability to have that hard engage, they have to back up, they have to back off.
Glacial Prison will land on a 22-year CJ getting knocked down, and it's another kill for Ryerson.
A kill for Ryerson and an opportunity out of Baron. You do have teleport available from KT Smurf, so he can join the fray if he needs to, but he is still sitting out on the bot side of the map. They've got the clear, they don't have the vision, but are they going to decide to go for this still?
Kazahana thinking about going face first into the Fizz. Fizz will stay alive, and it does look like Ryerson's just going to play the vision game here, clear it out. It would be a very, very aggressive call to start up the Baron without vision, as it does look like they might be starting it up. Yes, all right, never mind, whatever. Shut up, Caster. You don't know what you're talking about. Baron going to be started here by Ryerson. Teleport coming in a little bit further away. There's the peel off flash forward with the Chum the Waters and the start, but KT Smurf is untouched right now. It will be a lot of damage coming out of him. Does get bubbled up, but where's the damage going to come from on the opposite side? It's a triple kill right now. That's a quadra kill right now for KT Smurf. One left. Will you be an asshole, 73? No, you won't. It's a pentakill heading on over to KT Smurf.
And that's going to be the 5-piece. A beautiful teleport coming in, and when you think about a team fight, what do you have to think about? Prioritization. They didn't think about KT Smurf. All they considered was they need to get to the backline carries, but you know what, buddy? Cassidy is a carry too. 5 kills, 11, 2, and 6, and that's going to be an inhibitor for the University of British Columbia.
That's the way you cast it, and we really haven't seen much of that play recently, and maybe this is what we're going to see in professional play. And something else that UBC has to think about is their opponents are sitting right here watching and have a little bit, this Cassidy pick might be working out. Maybe it's something we got to ban away.
That might be something we have to think about in the pregame notes.
But something good for KT Smurf is that was the only champion he played. He played it twice.
He went to an off-meta champion, somebody that you're not used to seeing too often. And so now, if you can think about that coming into the potential grand finals, assuming that they wrap this game up, then that means that's an opportunity to be able to force that ban and get something else to come through. So a fantastic, not only strategy by UBC to have that as an option, but more importantly, the execution of KT Smurf to not only take the pick, but to run with it. I mean, when you're 11, 2, and 6 at less than 30 minutes in the game, you know something's going right for you.
Absolutely, and I feel bad for Ryerson. They got the pick, they made the call, they were able to go ahead and execute a nice wombo combo, but the one person that they didn't hit was the carry KT Smurf, and he was able to pop off on the cast and clean that one up and pick himself up. The first pentakill here at the Canadian Invitational.
And so now we can breathe. We can take a deep breath, exhale for a second. We've got a little bit of a downtime here. You do still have the Baron up, so amidst all of the drudgery and disaster that has happened for Ryerson, They still have the Baron on the table if they're able to get themselves a solid pick, but now they have to worry about the super minions coming into the lane. You now have a teleport advantage on a CJ, so he's going to be the one in the bot lane split pushing and making sure that he's pushing that extra pressure. You've got the super minions in the mid lane like what we just talked about, and so this is where UBC can really start to create these kind of cookie cutter situations where they line up all of their resources, they push themselves in every lane as possible, and force Ryerson to not only make a decision, but more importantly, and to the hope, of course, of UBC to make a mistake.
Make a mistake indeed. Pax of C4 will be able to counter CJ 22 year. What's his other name? 22 years split push, because teleports are up, but with a lot of the vision scoped out by both teams. Baron was started up, gets countered, and now KT looking for a fight, but will get caught out. Oh, the zone just keeps him alive. Will he be able to rift walk out? Yes, he is. Modpo Man, yes, does get the auto attack down. That's a kill heading on over to Ryerson, and again, stalls out the game for Ryerson.
Stalls out the game for Ryerson, but look at what you see coming out of Pax of C4. He's feeling cocky.
He is. He wants to go in. Jump the Water is going to land, but there's the stun. 22 year is able to counter it with the slicing maelstrom, just like you said.
You have that nice little pixel brush waiting there. Ozmon 74th A. Come on, try to clear out that vision, buddy. We got some follow-up CC and some damage kind of sitting and waiting for you. So now you've got Summoners down on Pax of C4. He doesn't have that teleport. He canceled that teleport actually in the jungle, so he doesn't have that to his advantage. Used the Ignite onto 22 year, wasn't able to pick up the kill, and so now is where you start to have another time window for UBC to take advantage of. They've got that teleport available. You've got teleport from KT Smurf coming up very soon. So here are kind of pieces and slots that UBC can have, but things are going to continuously get more and more difficult if they're not able to close things out, because as we've talked about...
Oh, no! Okay, that wasn't that bad. I thought it was going to be a lot worse than what it was. Sorry, everyone. I just went a little bit in my hands. It's all right, though, because Modpo Man is still alive in round 2. Chum the Waters landing there. 22 year doesn't like any of those waters. Ninja Hog now on the bottom side of the map. Does show 2 members down here, but they will pick up the kill. Ninja Hog will pick that one up. Ash Arrow going to land on the Nami. Modpo Man able to get away. Tidal Wave will slow down the players. Nice bubble, but not going to be enough. Ozna able to pick up that kill.
So you get the trade 1-for-1 support for the top laner, but that doesn't mean that they don't think about that Baron. They go for it again. Are they going to be able to walk off onto this? They have all their ultimates available except for the Ashe, so that's something they have to think about. All the ultimates available, though, onto the side of Ryerson, so if they get themselves a good engage here, things could get iffy.
A little bit of positioning there by Modpo. Modpo, okay, the stun not going to land. Does land onto Ash. Ash very low, and down he goes. Light Turtle's able to pick that one up. Stranglethorns pops up a couple. Light Turtle still alive. KT Smurf does take a little bit of damage, but will be able to pick up the kill and walk away with his life 1-for-1. Again, broken record, Bill. It's another Baron stop.
So I don't know about you, but it looks like we've seen the same thing over and over again. Let's go for the Baron. No, let's decide to fight. Okay, we got to back off. Repeat, rinse, and repeat. That's exactly what Ryerson has. They know that Baron is #1 on the priority list for UBC, and so every opportunity that they can to stop that, not only are they obviously keeping that at the top of their list, but they're more importantly making sure that they can trade out. The more of these 1v1, 2v2 kind of trades that they can have back and forth, the better opportunity that they're going to have to allow themselves to scale up. You take a look at what you see across the board. You've got 2.5 items now onto Pax of C4. He's going for that bruiser style build. You've now got the double Zeal items coming from Ninja Hog, and so Caitlyn is coming out of that kind of hole that she puts herself in throughout that kind of 12 to 20 minute mark, and so now you're starting to see this opportunity of Ryerson. If they get the right picks, if they're able to chain their CC correctly, they could actually start coming ahead on these fights.
Yep, so we'll keep an eye on Ninja Hog in these team fights on the Caitlyn. How far back, how long can you live? Still did not build a rune on Hurricane. I believe it's the right call here. You want to go ahead and stay as far away from KT Smurf as possible and get the damage reduction by Phantom Dancer, which is what, 20% damage reduction. So that's the way you want to build it, but still, you're only melting down one person at a time. If Light Turtle goes down early or Pax of C4 goes down early, really that mitigates a lot of the damage that could be coming down by the side of Ryerson.
But Dagon, we're reimagining Groundhog Day, because it looks like we're seeing the same thing yet again. They've prepped themselves for the Baron. They've got themselves the vision control. It's, hey, all right, it's time to do it. It's a possibility. They put KT Smurf back onto the bot side. Now, the last time that he was in the bot side with the teleport, he did pick up that pentakill. So now it's going to have to be on the minds of Ryerson of when are we going to contest this? When are we actually going to stop this? Because look at how much of a prioritization you have on vision denial coming out of UBC right now on that top side of the enemy jungle.
And thinking back to the first teleport play with KT Smurf casting it on the bottom side of the map, Ryerson did a great job clearing out all the wards except that one on their jungle side.
All it takes is one.
It allowed KT Smurf to get behind and clean that one up. Yeah, what I like about here is they're like, 22, get out of here. You died.
Yeah.
You died to the split push. We'll put in KT Smurf. Pax of C4 can't really deal with it too much. As you see, just get chunked. His health gets chunked immediately. And Ryerson tried to go ahead and put the AD carry on the bottom side of the map with Ninja Hawk like they did last time, but it got sniffed out, and now the Baron's going to get started up and burned down
they're gonna finish this
immediately. Look at the damage, and it will be Baron heading on over to the side of UBC.
And not only were they able to pick themselves up a Baron, but they were able to stall out and ensure that zoning enough so KT Smurf didn't have to blow his teleport. So now he doesn't have to recall. He doesn't have to worry about changing up his tactics. He can stay in the bot lane and continue to put pressure. The more he can whittle that tower down, the more it tenses up the muscles of Ryerson, because when you open up that bot lane inhibitor, that's when things really start to get scary, and Ryerson is just absolutely doing everything they can to make sure that they stop that from happening.
They are indeed 21-14, massive gold lead. Ash Arrow does land onto the Nami, flash forward by 22 here. Nice flash away by Light Eternal, able to keep the damage away from KT Smurf. There's a stun, and Mod Man picks up one. Absolute Zero going to get used, but not killed. KT Smurf goes big. Nice Sonias, and he dodges away from the stun from Sejuani. It's a double kill. That's going to be all she wrote. Pax of C4, the only one alive. Great play by KT Smurf. There's the triple kill heading on over. The GGs are coming out, and UBC win this one.
Patience is a virtue, and that's exactly what KT Smurf used to ride that victory. He was looking over the edge of the wall with his binoculars saying, is it time to go in? Is it time to go in? Yes, it was. He picks himself up the double kill. They pick themselves up the ace, and at 37 minutes, it's going to be UBC picking up the victory, picking up the 2-0, and setting themselves in the grand finals.
Great matches here by both teams. Really unfortunate on the Baron call there. I thought Ninja Hawk did a great job of rotating down on the first time. UBC sniffed that play out by Ryerson and immediately went to the Baron on a 4v3.
But this is where things changed from the perspective of UBC. Instead of all four members rather, committing to that Baron, they knew, okay, you have a Zyra, you have the ability to zone. So they kept 7-3-4 off of the Baron, out of the pit, and used those Zyra plants as nothing but zone control to allow them to finish that up. With the state of the game that Ashe was in, with the power that Kazahana had on that Nunu, you're going to take the Baron very quickly. So they did a fantastic job. They were able to have a valiant effort, but you cannot you can't overlook the power that KT Smurf had.
Definitely. So big stuff here. Shout outs to Ryerson as well, and the Ryerson fans that came out to watch their team play. They did a great job of stalling this one out, but without any more stalling, we're going to go ahead and take a short break. But when we come back, we're going to have the big match, the semifinal 2 match between UOT and Simon Fraser. Don't touch that browser.